today's show, we dive back to 2013 and head over to the Highlands Motorsport Park in New Zealand as we look back on the final round of the 2013 Australian GT Championship, the Highlands 101. Then we dig deeper into our archives and wind back to February 2004. We head to Sydney Dragway and look back on the historic opening event at Sydney's premier drag racing facility, the Andros Summer Nationals, featuring all the Group 1 categories. This is Speedweek.
Started high on a mountain in Australia will now conclude at a track surrounded by mountains here in New Zealand. Hi everyone and welcome to Highlands Motorsport Park in Cromwell outside of Queenstown for the final round of the Australian GT Championship presented by Pirelli. This immaculate brand new venue is the perfect location to host the world's finest sports cars. And while Clark Quinn may have wrapped up this title already, there's still a few scores to settle. The Australian GT Championship is split into 4 tough classes. At the top of the sport sits the current FIA Spec GT3 cars, where once again Clark Quinn is champion. This weekend he'll share with Kiwi gun Craig Baird. The battle to watch this week will be the fight for third as Dean Koutsamides in the Audi R8 tries to hold off Maranello Motorsport's John Bowe and the second Audi of Rod Salmon. The older generation GT3 cars run in GT Trophy. Steve McLaughlin has dominated this class in his Dodge Viper. Here this weekend, he will share the car with the man he bought it off, Greg Crick. GT Challenge is the Porsche versus Ferrari battle. Here the title is still well and truly up for grabs, with young gun Ben Fozel just a handful of points ahead of Brendan Cook. They both have gun Porsche co-drivers this weekend in Michael Arman and David Russell. Finally, we have the GT4 category where the Ginetta G50s driven by Mark Griffith and Michael Hovey are fighting it out in the tightest of all the classes. Just 2 40-minute races remain in the season that has gone down to the wire in a few of these categories, and now it's time to crown our champions.
Craig Baird had set the initial Highlands lap record back in April, so there was no surprise that he and co-driver Clark Quinn set the early pace in qualifying, with Clark dropping into the 1:38 on his 7th lap. Also lapping at a similar pace early in qualifying was the John Bowe Peter Edwards Ferrari, but circuit owner Tony Quinn got the number 7 Aston below the 38s on lap 7. And then the times really tumbled when co-driver changes took effect and all the pros jumped in. Greg Murphy muscled the McLaren GT3 into a 1:37.7 late in the session before Fabian Coulthard took over from Tony Quinn and smashed out a 1:35.5 to top the charts. But Baird was back in the Porsche and responded with a flying 1:34.8. But Coulthard was quick to fire back with his 1:34.4, and for a while the Aston looked to have pole secured. But you can never keep Craig Baird down. On his last lap, he stunned the crowd with a flying 1:34.214 to secure pole for the VIP Pet Foods Porsche. So it's Clark Quinn and Craig Baird on pole position, just ahead of Tony Quinn and Fabian Coulthard's Aston Martin. The Bowe Edwards Ferrari was third, ahead of the McLaren shared by Greg Murphy and Neil Crompton, with Rod Salmon and Liam Talbot leading the Audi brigade in 5th.
Highlands Motorsport Park is a brand new circuit, which means that none of the Australian GT regulars have had much of a chance to cut any laps around here. Does that mean that it's an even playing field for the whole group? Or is there a slight advantage for some of the older, more experienced racers? That's a question that we thought would throw to the competitors. Representing the old gang, Aussie racing legend John Bowe. And in the youth corner, it's newcomer to the series, Ben Fosel.
As a new driver, every track's new, something, you're always trying to learn the track, and it's something, always new for us pretty much. So this track here, same thing, jump in, don't really know it, so just as much preparation as you can do, simulators, watching videos, just all the usual things to try and get yourself as prepared as you can for an event like this.
I've driven on a lot of new circuits in my time. I use the first practice session to be confused, and then usually your brain takes care of all the rest.
I wonder what they did back in the the 80s. How would they've got by?
I don't know. I think it would have been just seat time. Get in and drive. That's it.
How do you go with things like your braking markers and knowing what gear you need to be in the corners? These little things.
You just try it. You think, oh, gee, that's too low or that's too high. As I said, your brain takes care of it eventually. You've just got to give yourself a bit of time, though, because the brain is a very great piece of equipment if you let it do its thing.
Us new guys actually have a bit of an opportunity because it's always, everything for us is new. So it's unlike the older guys. It's maybe been a long time before they had to learn a new track. So it's one of those things. I think we've got an advantage over it, and we'll try and capitalise as much as we can.
As for who has an advantage, I don't think these two are ever going to agree on that one. But here's something they definitely agree on. This racetrack has taken their breath away.
I'd like to take the opportunity to say what a great job the Quinn family and the team that he has around him here. It's just awesome, and I wish we had this in Australia, to be honest.
This place is awesome. You haven't really been to, I've been to Europe, I've been to Nürburgring, things like that. A track like this is just awesome. They've got all the different facilities. Quinny does such a good job with this. He doesn't do things by half measures. You can see it by this track. Really, the videos and photos don't do it justice. I really recommend anyone to come and check this out.
It truly is a magnificent complex, and one that's been brought about through the passion of the Quinn family. On track, it's been another successful year for them as well, with Clark Quinn becoming just the second ever man to win back-to-back Australian GT championships.
It's obviously an honour to be able to do it, and a privilege to have the team and the car and the event to have that opportunity. And it's been a very consistent year for me. The car's been exceptional, and that's just Porsche to a T.
Despite being a two-time champ, Clark believes he still has plenty to learn from his co-driver. That's 5 times Carrera Cup champion, Craig Baird.
He teaches people every day, and he's a professional down to the T, and a bloody great guy. He is so much fun. And to have him drive with me, it's again, I love the experience, and we've done lots of racing with Beardo over the years, so we've got a good, healthy relationship there. So when I heard the chance that he could come race with me, absolutely, I'd love the chance.
Outside of the car, Clark has been in a great position to see just how much work went into building Highlands Motorsport Park.
I don't know someone that works as hard as Dad, but I do know that he's been absent from work over the last 18 months, and when you see what he's done here, you know why, and you just look at the commitment that he's put into the region and the Highlands Motorsport experience. You can see that he's put so much hard work and effort into it. And meanwhile, me and the other siblings have been back home, supporting his addiction here. And when we come over here, it's just mind-blowing. And I really want to put on a spectacle and a show for all the crowd. There's thousands of people here, and they want to see all the cars on the track, and they want to see some action and stuff. So we're just keeping it together for the 101. And let's hope that the 101 race will be mega, and it's shaping up to be a great event.
There's no doubt about that, Clark Quinn. It will be fantastic, and he will start on the front row. It's Craig Baird doing the driving duties early in this race in car number 1, and Tony Quinn in car number 7, sharing with Fabian Coulthard.
Hey, he's a very, very proud track owner, Clark Quinn, isn't he? Just place looks magnificent, shot over jet out there in the middle, just masterpiece of a racetrack here, and that first one bus stop is just going to be fantastic, isn't it?
This opening stage of the race will be interesting. JB starts the Ferrari, Greg Murphy in the McLaren, Liam Talbot in the Rod Salmon number 6 Audi, Andy Waite sharing with young Simon Evans in the 007 Aston Martin, so they will be one to watch. We'll roll through this big grid of cars from the Australian GT Championship presented by Pirelli. Griffith starting the race in the Ginetta, Fosel starting his car, Hovey and Indran Padiachi doing the duties a little bit further back in the field. Indran sharing with Aaron Zerafos. And Martin and Hovey a little bit further back, and Michael Hovey doing the driving duties in car number 9. So rolling start, as is the case in Aussie GT. We get a start at this amazing facility, and the Highlands GT round, the final round of the Australian GT Championship is underway. It looks like it's the Porsche Craig Baird, the Carrera Cup champion 4 times over, who gets the run down into turn 1.
The Taplin Real Estate car coming out of pit lane for the start of this race. The McLaren, the MP, just looks fantastic there. Fantastic field of Aussie GT cars, a Formula 1 driver in amongst it there with Ivan Capelli in the Pirelli Trofeo Motorsport Corvette mixed up. So there's some absolute New Zealand legends there. There's a McLaren that's got a New Zealand driver at the wheel of Greg Murphy. And this Highlands Park is sure to become a legend in New Zealand.
Here's JB working the Maranello Motorsport Ferrari through this banked corner. And that shot as they went through the forest at the back of the race circuit, you can see the woods there. I guess that could be anywhere in the world. It could be Spa-Francorchamps or the old Hockenheim. It's amazing, this facility. And already the Porsche Craig Baird driving out 5 times a champion, I should say, in Carrera Cup racing. And has had plenty of success in GT as well. And there's Tony Quinn in the Aston Martin, the Vantage GT3. He will share with Fabian Coulthard in this race, the V8 Supercar race.
They've got that full endurance race set up. The bungee cords there to pull the seatbelts out of the way for the incoming driver. I don't know what's better, the view out over the mountains and the snowfields, or the view into the back of this magnificent McLaren, into the back of Quinny's Aston there. And these guys are all being hurried along by a couple of New Zealanders in weight as well. So getting a big hurry on for these front-running Australian GT cars.
Well, a couple of the biggest names in NZ Motorsport running at the front of the field. Greg Murphy doesn't get much bigger. Craig Baird right up there too. Fabian Coulthard will jump in the Aston a bit later on. Here's Bow, one of the biggest from Australia, trying to launch one up the inside in the Albello Rosso Ferrari. Behind them, Liam Talbot, one of the standouts in this year's Radical Australia Cup on Aussie shores, doing a great job in the sports cars, and he's got eyes on a career a little bit further down the road as we take a look a bit further back. This is the battle for 10th place, Corvette, Mosler and Ferrari.
These guys are certainly battling it out as well in the challenge class for this year. A big shame is that we haven't got the M Sport Gallardo out there, which had a nasty shunt in early practice this weekend, so we're not going to see Dale Wood and Justin McMillan out there this weekend, so that was a shame. Here's the big challenge now with Bow down the inside. He's going to make it stick, and boy oh boy, it's been a while since John Bow has passed Greg Murphy with such ease.
It will be very satisfying, there's no doubt, for the man that leads the Touring Car Master Series, continues to operate at a very high level. He's now got Tony Quinn up the road. Hasn't Tony been amazing in the second half of the season? Now, we know this is his racetrack and Clark has put all the work in, and it's an amazing family venture, but Tony has done the job on the racetrack this year.
He started his march at Phillip Island where he was very strong. It definitely suited the Aston Martin, as does this track. But he certainly came on very strong at Queensland Raceway, where stood on the top step of the podium there, and it's fantastic. As the snowfields, what a beautiful track.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Over the flyover, which is such a rarity in motorsport. I think Suzuka, probably one of the few tracks anywhere in the world that has still got it on board with Baird. Just to have a look at this facility. Lots of runoff, very safe circuit, but man, there's some quick corners. This is a proper all-out racetrack. There's nothing held back here. This isn't one of those soulless tilkodromes that you see in Formula 1 these days, Daz. This is a proper full-on racetrack.
Well, I do know that Clark, he jumped on Google Earth at one point and had a look at the bus stop, he had a look at the carousel, he had a look at some of these fantastic corners from around the globe, and he went, we're going to build a racetrack, let's incorporate some of these and give it our own twist. And haven't they done that? There we have Ivan Capelli, ex-Formula 1 driver at the wheel there of Jim Manolis' Corvette out of Trofeo Motorsport. Of course, the Pirelli Motorsport distributor here in this part of the world, doing a fantastic job, and everyone has been very happy with the DH standard category tyre this season.
Proctor just in behind there as well in the 57 car as we take a look a little bit further back. Oh, some dramas in the fence. Cook, that is.
Oh, that's going to affect his hunt at this title. That all but hands it to Ben Fossil.
Big impact. So it looks like he smacked that concrete wall on the outside there, although I don't know if there was an issue before he got into that fast right-hander, but he's found the wall, Daz, and that's broken the
car
left.
Looked as though it just grabbed something and then threw it into the wall. I wonder if there was some debris on the track there, or wow, he was very wide and late, wasn't he?
Yeah, quick corner too, not too hard. That's a street circuit corner, that, with just surrounded by concrete blocks. Very, very tough. There's Murphy in the McLaren. Lap 7, the battle for second. Liam Talbot driving really, really well in this Audi R8 LMS. And here is the 57 Mosler, well and truly stuck on the side of the road.
That's a shame to see that car there, but Liam Talbot has impressed throughout this year's SR3 Cup during the Radical Australia Cup. He's only driven this car once before with the car owner Rod Salmon, and the Melbourne Performance Centre crew are that impressed by him that they've suggested to Rod to keep a hold of him and give him these drives. Liam has definitely got his eyes on an LMP2 type career.
We just saw the number 75 Dodge Viper GT3 pulled off McLaughlin. That's a shame. Newcomer to Aussie GT this year. He's done a really good job. Drafted in the former owner of that car, Greg Crick, to lend assistance this weekend. And Cricky spent a lot of time behind the wheel of the big Viper and did a great job. So the JJ Consulting Lambo, the Quinn Aston in there working through traffic. Zach Griffith in the Janetta just taking a shortcut.
Of course, sharing with young Jack Perkins, who's done a stellar job in that car throughout the 2013 season in the GT4 or trophy class in the Australian GT Championship presented by Pirelli.
How cool is it to see a McLaren MP4 12C GT3 car on track finally in Aussie GT? They haven't been at the 12 hour. We've missed them in Australia. They've been so cool overseas. And Murph and Neil Crompton sharing the driving duties, old mates. They've done a very, very good job this weekend. It's a fast race car.
I've got to say, there's some tears in the eyes around the track here this weekend, having a McLaren racing on a New Zealand track.
In orange.
In
Bruce
orange
McLaren
too, yeah.
orange. Andrew Taplin comes into pit lane, just doing solo duty in this race. So the Ferrari 458 GT3 pits.
Ben Fossel there. He is staring down a championship victory here today. That is not what we wanted to see out of the Mosler. Of course, a constant GT performer around the world, the Mosler. But have a look at this front. The Aston Martin, the Darrell Lee Aston Martin now being monstered by the Il Bella Rosso Ferrari 458.
Should mention two Astons in the field. Tony Quinn's Darrell Lee entry, which he's sharing with Fabian Coulthard. The second car that is Tony's second Aston, the DBRS 9 GT3 car, being driven by a couple of young Kiwi kids, Andy Waite and Simon Evans. Simon, the brother of Mitch Evans, who's racing in GP3 and GP2 internationally, as the Ferrari looks to the inside of the Aston Martin, down the inside into this banked left-hander, and TK holds on in front. It's a great fight, but those two young Kiwi lads doing a great job there. First look at the car. It's being run by Tasman Motorsports Group. Steve Horn, the former IndyCar team owner, looking after that car this weekend, and that's the first time they've been involved in GT racing. They run regularly in the New Zealand V8 Super Tourers, and we're under caution. Dean Koutsamides jumps into pit lane in the Equity 1 car, and this will trigger a rush of pit stops. It's going to get busy in the Highlands Motorsport Park pit lane, and we can jump down there with Chad Nailon to tell you more.
Busy conditions behind the safety car right now, and pit lane is a happening place. John Bowe brings in the Maranello Motorsport Ferrari, and Peter Edwards is getting ready to go in. They're going to put in the seat insert. They're not going to change any tyres. Out comes JB's insert. They're going to play with tyre pressures to the fronts. That's all they're going to do. 70 seconds of compulsory pit stop, and then Edwards will be heading back out for the rest of this remaining race.
So it takes the pressure off this time stop. You can see Clark Quinn will jump in the VIP Pet Foods Porsche. This is why we're under safety car, incidentally. Fabian Coulthard will jump in the Darrell Lee Aston.
I tell you what's going to be very interesting is that Craig Baird does get a penalty as he comes out of the pit, because they only have Clark Quinn and now Rod Salmon, who didn't have the same professional driver penalty out there, now comes out, albeit under safety car, but he now comes out in second position, and they have jumped that gap that was there as well. Liam Talbot's done an awesome job with this field of champions, let's face it, in front of him at the moment, and there's these two main protagonists coming out, of course, Tony's car, the 101, and Tony's car, the Darrell Lee Aston as well.
Yeah, it's a great sight, and gee, these GT cars have taken in. Here are the Kiwi boys that we're talking about, being run by Steve Horn's Tasman Motorsport Group.
Great to see those guys there, and I'm glad you cleared it up on the Simon Evans. I thought it might have been the great rally legend.
Not the rally
from
ace,
Australia.
no, it of the Evans family. Dad Owen, a well-known New Zealand land speed record holder, incidentally.
We're back underway. Have a look at this. It's getting very lively as some of the faster cars are just being carving their way back up as the safety cars picked up the leader, and we've got one of the GT4 cars. Again, that might be, not too sure which one that was, but just taking the road less travelled through the bus stop chicane there. McLaren back underway and in full song.
I can't get over the forest section. I think that's the coolest thing. They just disappear out into the woods. You just do not see that at any other racetrack. I don't know, in the southern hemisphere, I would have thought. very European-style racing circuit, this. Amazing place. And here's the Aston Martin with Fabian Coulthard now behind the wheel. Peter Edwards in the Ferrari. And here's Fabs, Lockwood Racing driver in V8 Supercars.
Could he look any more relaxed?
No,
Is he just about Pete Brock putting the arm on the wrist?
He's a chilled-out Kiwi, cuzzy bro. Don't worry about that. Fantastic season in the V8s, and Fabs loves driving these cars. Jumped at the opportunity to jump in with Tony Quinn.
Of course, massive experience in the old Glenford's Porsche days, going years. Yep, that's where he's got his name in Australia here as his career grew and grew. So sports car racing, no stranger to Fabian Coulthard.
Clark Quinn on the verge of wrapping up an Aussie GT Championship. Big moment for the young man based in Queensland. Very, very entrepreneurial, like his father. Looks after Darryl Lee during the week. That's his day job. But as we know, well and truly involved in the design of this incredible facility. Through the chicane, over the bridge, and then into this great long sweeping corner. It's been unbelievable. Neil Crompton's behind the wheel of the McLaren GT3 car. That means Greg Murphy is out and he can chat with Chat Nail on in pit lane.
Well, Greg, talk us through those first few laps.
Oh, it was all right. We I think compared to some of the other cars, we need to do a bit of tuning. We had a bit of a problem in qualifying. It's the engine. There's something to do with the charge cooler for the turbochargers, and it's the temperature's gone through the roof for some reason. So we weren't able to fix it in between. So it's not, the engine's not running as good as what we as it could be. It's not producing as much power. So that was a bit of a struggle out there compared to those other guys. And then we got a bit of work to do to tune the chassis, but we're not. At the end of the day, mate, we're having a blast, and it's so very privileged to be driving such an amazing car. So it's all good, mate. We're having fun.
Couple of legends in pit lane there. Craig Baird just trying to listen to what Greg Murphy was divulging to Chad. There's trouble there for Michael Hovey. That's a big problem. That looks like a gearbox fire or something like that there. That's some sort of oil fire. That is not what he wanted to see either. Michael Hovey in the hunt for the championship, and he is out at a rapid rate of knots. Just steps aside.
They need to get some fire extinguisher on that soon. While the safety car comes out, we're going to jump away for a break. We'll be back with more from Highlands just after this. Welcome back to Highlands Motorsport Park in New Zealand. It's the final round of the Australian GT Championship presented by Pirelli. We're back under green flag racing, and the Porsche of Clark Quinn and Craig Baird leads the field to the line, but looming in his rear-view mirrors will be that bright orange Audi R8 LMS Ultra of Rod Salmon and Liam Talbot. Darren Smith alongside me, Richard Crowell for this one. There's the Aston Martin. Tony Quinn started the race. Fabian Coulthard now behind the wheel at this amazing facility just near Cromwell in the South Island of New Zealand.
Do you think the guys at MPC have said to Rod, flick all the lights on, mate? We've gone through and we've had a lead change. Put the pressure on has been the word down the radio, and that is an issue, I would suggest, there in the VIP Pet Food Porsche, because Rod was closing, but that was a rapid close. So it goes through the Darryl Lee car as well. So Aston Martin and Audi go through on the Porsche of Clark Quinn.
Gee, it's been a while since we've had a victory for Audi in Aussie GT, so this could be a big day. What a great pass it was to the squirk.com.au R8 LMS Ultra. There's the Porsche struggling, and the Aston Martin goes by. The McLaren looming there in fourth place. So we have got a fight on our hands right to the flag in this first race in front of more than 11,000 people here at Highlands Motorsport Park. Taking a bit of liberty there with the chicane on the run up to the bridge.
Great turnout at the track too. It's fantastic testament to all of the effort that's been put in by all of the crew, not just Clark and Tony Quinn that have got their name on the plaque, but everyone that has gone ahead and made this such a fantastic facility. I've got to say, this is a remarkable drive from Rod Salmon. He could bring home his maiden victory in the GT Championship. Of course, we know him as a winner of the Bathurst 12 Hour in the past, but this is just a fantastic drive. They've been plugging away at it, and we're seeing the McLaren go through now on the VIP Pet Foods Porsche of Clark Quinn. Jason Dunstan in the pits will be trying to ascertain what Clark's issue is out there, but he has lost all grunt, all power around the Highlands track now. Have a look at this Audi. Bright orange, bright yellow, squirk.com.au, interactive schooling, getting the message across, runs wide there. Jeez. Probably doesn't want to dip off the back of that ripple strip.
He's driving hard, Rod Salmon. Liam Talbot anchored the race at the start with a brilliant opening stint, really kept them in contention with the leading cars. and he's done the job in the second half. Great move by Neil Crompton just before to get the McLaren up to third. The Porsche still sits in fourth place. So final few corners. Audi looking to return to the top of the charts in Australian GT for the first time in a long time. There's the 007 Aston Martin.
And that's for place 2. That's chasing down the Il Bella Rosso Ferrari there as well. Oh, we've got Griffith dropping off as well there after a couple of runs across the ripple strips and the bus stop. He's slowed dramatically. Young Janadasa gets through. So that is for place. These guys are battling it out. This is the young New Zealand team. Have a look at this. This will be to the flag. And it is Rod Salmon, maiden victory in the Australian GT Championship. Boys happy, screaming at the wheel. Liam Talbot also a maiden victory in the Australian GT Championship at this magnificent racetrack, and it will be etched into their memory as one of the most beautiful things they've ever done.
So a maiden win for Rod Salmon and Liam Talbot. Tony Quinn and Fabian Coulthard were lucky to get to the line in second after having a flat tyre at the end. Clark Quinn and Craig Baird were unlucky to finish third, having led most of that race. We should mention Murphy and Crompton were penalised for a late race jump restart, so they jumped down to 7th place.
Well, Rod Salmon and Liam Talbot reunited once again. What was going through your head when you saw the Porsche slow?
You know, look, I was catching him and I was holding time with Quinny, which I haven't been able to do all season, and I thought, oh, he hasn't quite got the tyres left this at the end of the race. Our tyres were perfect, so we were catching. And then, you know, I saw him squirm and I thought, oh, I'm not hanging around to find out. I went straight under him and went past.
Liam, this has been a phenomenal rookie season on your behalf. You were easily holding pace with Murphy out there in the McLaren.
Yeah, I didn't even know Murphy was in there. I thought it might have been the other guy. But I really got to say thanks to Rod Salmon for giving me this opportunity. That Squirk Audi is unbelievable. I had so much confidence out there, and the car is just unbelievable. Words can't describe how good it is.
Well, Fabian Coulthard, the car's come back on the flatbed, and it was oh so close for you guys. What happened?
Oh, look, you know, we still finished the race. We finished second, so look, it's not all bad. You know, the car had a bit of a wobble over, you know, the second to last corner. I was like, there's something not quite right there, so just nursed it back, you know, and then obviously the left rear tyres failed. So it's nice that there's an explanation. So no, it's all good.
Seeing as it was a slow puncture, do you think it cost you a chance of the win because you were chasing pretty hard?
Look, we're just having a bit of fun, you know, so if it costs the win, it costs the win, but I'm not overly phased. You know, the most important thing is, you know, both Quins finished 1-2 in the championship, and I brought the car home in one piece, so that's all they're after, and that's what we got.
How you doing, mate? George, nice to meet you, George. We're at the Highlands go-kart track. We're about to take some lucky children. I don't know if they're lucky or unlucky, actually, for a bit of a tandem go-kart ride around the track.
Check this out, ready to race. Got my name and everything.
Don't use that one. That's the brake. We've got to beat these guys, all right? We've ended up without a second seat, so this should be an easy race to win, I reckon.
Nothing's changed. He took me out, put me into the wall. He got the flag though, so it's his fault.
That was him. Always him.
Some of the Kiwi boys having some fun. Andy Waite and Shane Van Gisbergen joking around in between races as we get set for the second of two races in the final round of Aussie GT. Rod Salmon starts his Audi from the front row. Fabian Coulthard will start the Aston Martin. Clark Quinn will start the Porsche he shares with Craig Baird and JB. John Bow in the Ferrari. Simon Evans, who's sharing with Andy Waite in the Aston Martin, will start the 007 car. Andrew McGuinness starts his Audi that he shares with Dean Kootsamides, Darren Smith. Final race of the year for Australian GT. Massive crowd watching on at Highlands. This one should be a ripper.
Hasn't it been a great year for GT racing? We've been up and down the states of Australia, and we've come over the Tasman here to just this most picturesque site here. It just makes for great photos. It's a fantastic place to come and visit, and most importantly for all of us and all the guys out there on the track is that it's a great racetrack that's inducing some fantastic racing, some great shots, just getting a Formula One style tour around the track, I'd say by a helicopter of some description.
Looks amazing, doesn't it? We should mention from P7 in this race. Greg Murphy will start the McLaren MP4 12C GT3 car after their penalty for a jump restart late in race 1 yesterday. So away we go as they spread out in this great run down towards the first complex, the bus stop chicane. The Audi leads the Aston Martin. Porsche is third. Onboard pictures from the McLaren.
What a watershed weekend for Rod Salmon. He's held the field out down into turn 1 after his great victory in race 1, and he is showing a good set of heels there. We've got an issue there. Was that the McLaren?
I think might
off
have
the track.
Yeah, some dust kicked up on the inside. Clark Quinn on board the VIP Pet Foods Porsche. Field sorts themselves out, working their way through this first lap at Highlands. Quite a long lap, lapping in the 1:34s, so sort of longer than Phillip Island, makes it the longest lap in the year after Bathurst. Here's Bow in the Ferrari.
He's busy at the wheel there. There's some bumps here occurring in that Ferrari there. He's got his hand pulled. He's gone round.
I think that's Pete Edwards actually with the black helmet.
Yeah, I'd suggest it was. Of course, Bowie's helmet, the red, black and white over many years, we've got to know. There it is, the Il Bellerosso, car number 88. That's a real shame. The Ferrari's been running right at the front end of this field all weekend. As we just see Rod Salmon almost motocrossing it across those ripple strips there. He's very late over the crossover. Clark Quinn, of course, there was a tyre issue, a deflating tyre in the race earlier on in race 1, so they've resolved that issue, and it was a very similar issue in this car, but it managed to get to the line.
Coulthard gets past Rod Salmon, takes the lead. The Aston Martin in front. Great move, just capitalised the slow run by Salmon out of that last right-hander and then through that sweeping corner that brings them past the pit complex here at Highlands. The Aston Martin got himself in front.
You've got to suggest, Richard, that Fabian Coulthard now should be able to pull away from the Audi, but Rod Salmon sticking tight there. He's holding onto a line that's probably not going to keep him in the running, but again, got the lights ablaze, so he's all about business here this weekend. On the brakes there, as we just see Berto pull out, and no, that's actually Clark Quinn at the wheel, and he's trying to find a way through there. He's definitely looking left and right, not wanting to let that Darrell Lee car skate away too early.
Here's the GT3R, draws alongside the Audi and gets the job done, so nice move. Position change and Salmon loses one spot, but if he can keep that car in the top 3 or 4 in this race early on and put Liam Talbot in for the second half, I think they're still on for a reasonable result in this race, hopefully on the podium for their sake after a very, very strong victory in race 1.
Not only can you close your eyes and hear these sounds of these European masterpieces of sports cars, but you can also open your eyes here at Highlands Park and you can pretend you're anywhere in the world.
Snow-capped mountains, just a little bit of snow on the top, just in the background. Not too far away from the adventure capital of New Zealand, here in the South Island. And Cromwell, little town not too far away. Good wine producing region as well, known for their whites in this region.
We've certainly seen some of the guys having a great time too around here. The guys, let's say the pros, they've been hosted nicely. They've had some bungee jumping. Here's Neil Crompton at the wheel. He could probably talk us through a lap or two.
It's what he does, the V8 supercar commentator. It's been a while since we've seen him race competitively, really enjoying himself for this one.
And he's stuck with that helmet design too, but he's gone by many sponsors on the side there. Ivan Capelli now, he's having a red-hot go at the McLaren, and that's Cromley at the wheel there, so ex-F1 driver, and of course Crompton had a bit of a hand at an Indy car a long, long time ago, but certainly a couple of guys that raced open wheelers.
Incidentally, Neil Crompton almost won the North American Touring Car Championship for Steve Horn for Tasman Motorsports, who are here this weekend looking after that Aston Martin, as we talked about in race 1. So it's all pretty close and family-like, the motorsport world. It's kicking up some dust around the bowl that takes them through the woods out the back of Highlands Motorsport Park.
And that's Greg Crick in the Viper. Of course, they had a pinion failure in race 1. That's why the Viper didn't come out. Of course, Cricky knows his way around a Viper. This was his car up until about 12 months ago. Now McLaughlin's racing very well with it and has actually taken out this year's class victory in that car. Our race leader, P2 now, just coming over that bridge there. That's a big haul up there. They're really, cars are, the track's flat. There's no camber to the corner. They really try to haul the car up hard. There's a lot of weight transfer onto the front there. As we see Rod Salmon still driving very, very well. This really is a watershed weekend for him.
Yeah, he's been on top of his game. Very experienced racer in his own right. And whatever they've done to the squirt.com.au Audi this weekend, Melbourne Performance Centre team have really got this thing humming. You can hear the big V10 screaming away in the background.
Of course, the V10, we're only hearing it in the Audi this weekend. The Lamborghini's the only one out there is Ginadasa in the Ginadasa racing team, and he's back in class. But the V10 working very nicely in the Audi. This is again Ivan Capelli, and he's battling with the Evans and Waite DBR. Kind of love the way they paint the lips on the green and the orange and the yellow. And dramas again here for one of our GT4 cars. They bunch up underneath the Pirelli bridge. There's Ginadasa in the Lamborghini. There goes Griffith in the Ginetta.
Yeah, so Tony Martin with a massive amount of drama. A real shame. And he'll link back to pit lane. The battle continues here at Highlands Motorsport Park. So the race continues, and the Aston Martin, Fabian Coulthard behind the wheel, started the race. Very good opening stint, Darren Smith, and that Aston looking pretty strong. Here's the Porsche, Craig Baird to jump in at the end of this race. Clark Quinn coming in, and this is where Bairdo will jump into that car. Recently crowned a 5-time Carrera Cup champion.
You've got to suggest that Tony Quinn can take this Darrell Lee car home to victory as long as Fab can keep it running in such strong form there. Gotta love that Pro Drive badge on the dashboard there. Absolute motorsport preparation royalty. David Richards and the crew. Of course, this is just the GT3 version of the Aston. They do run other variants around the world. And Tony Quinn has been driving this very well all year. We've just seen the VIP Pet Foods Porsche come in. So Beto will jump at the wheel. It'll be interesting to see how long until Fabian Coulthard comes in and Tony Quinn takes home the last leg of the 2013 Australian GT Championship presented by Pirelli.
Yeah, we should mention in race 1, Ben Fosel and Michael Armand, the Porsche GT3 Cup ace, won the challenge class, and Mark Griffith and Jack Perkins won the sport class. So races within a race in Australian GT. Here's a stop. The Audi is in pit lane. We saw the McLaren driving out, so Greg Murphy will be behind the wheel. Here's the race leader, Fabian Coulthard coming in. And let's watch this pit stop at work. We'll watch Tony Quinn jump in. Belts start to come off already. And Fabian just cruising down towards the very well-drilled team that look after these two cars for Tony and Clark Quinn. Let's go to Chad Naylor.
Our race leaders are on pit lane right now. The Darrell Lee Aston Martin has come down pit road, and finally Fabian Coulthard is going to hand this car over to Tony Quinn. What an amazing job he was doing. He was at 1.3 seconds a lap quicker, turning laps in the 134s. Now this is going to be an 80-second compulsory pit stop. It'll feel like an absolute lifetime, so plenty of time to make that changeover to Tony Quinn, and a lot of time to make sure that the belts are done up properly, the Hans device is tucked in nicely, then they can get this car back on track. Not changing tyres, an adjustment in those tyre pressures, and then the Darrell Lee Aston Martin will be back out on the track.
So good stop, timed pit stop, so it takes a lot of the rush out of it, gets rid of the mistakes that often pop up in pit stops, and they should be able to rejoin in the race lead.
And also these V8 supercar drivers that are joining us this weekend, the likes of Greg Murphy, Fabian Coulthard, Craig Baird, these guys have been doing this for a long time, and they themselves bring a sense of calmness to the pit stop. They talk to these guys, although the GT Championship guys are very well experienced. Of course, a lot of the mechanics in pit lane you'll see running the Enduro at Bathurst at the 12 hour as well, so they have got knowledge, but these drivers certainly bring an air of calmness. It's all about slowing it down, making it deliberate, and making sure nothing goes wrong in the pits. Interesting to see just tyre pressure adjustments. We're not seeing anyone changing the Pirellis out at the moment. The other thing that's going to transpire is this is exactly the same tarmac mixture that Phillip Island has got and what now Bathurst is currently being resurfaced in. So there's a whole lot of the boffins in the tyre world have brought the information that they already know to this park, and the tyres have been just standing up so very well.
And this is a quick track as well. That, big moment, big moment from the Equity One. Audi R8 just dived up the inside, but a little bit too hot, and they are stuck in the Highlands gravel. Tony Quinn will have to send them a bill for some new gravel replacement there, I think, for that gravel trap. That's a real shame. This is a track with a couple of very high-speed corners to finish that point. That big long sweep of the right-hand constant radius corner through, well, about 270 degrees. This one here through the forest at the back of the racetrack. Fourth gear, you can see Baird soaring away at the wheel. He's caught up behind the Janetta, so trying to work his way through lap traffic, but monstrously quick corner. Lots of load on the tyres. And there goes Beardo. Gets past the Janetta.
Just shows you how much cornering grip those Janettas have got. The Beto can't get the Porsche around there. He was certainly working hard. He couldn't go wide as he plunges underneath the Pirelli bridge again. But the Janetta carrying lots of speed there. The GT4 trophy cars have brought a great aspect of competition to it this weekend, and indeed all throughout this season. Beto going very, very strong as Chad Nalon with Fabian Coulthard.
Well, Fabian, you were just about in your own race out there. A magnificent rhythm early on in that Aston Martin.
Yeah, look, it was pretty good. You know, I was pretty comfortable. Yesterday I wasn't so comfortable. You know, had a funny vibration in the rear of the car, but now it's, you know, feels like what's back to normal, and now I can just get on and do my thing.
Yeah. And get on and do his thing. He does, exactly. Here's Andrew Taplin's car here. Of course, we saw starting from pit lane in race one, back out and lapping quite nicely at the moment. Now got Greg Murphy at the wheel there, and he's chasing down Andrew Taplin. So he's on song, Murph. He's had a tough run in the V8 Supercars season of endurance this year, but he is absolutely relishing the GT drives this year. He's had a couple. He drove the Corvette at Bathurst and unfortunately didn't have a great run. And he's also driven the Corvette at Queensland Raceway as part of the Shannon's Nationals round up there. Chad Nalon down in the pits with Crombo.
The laps on the track were the most important thing. You're complaining of a little bit of snap oversteer in the back end of the car?
Yeah, I was really unhappy with that from a driver's standpoint. I didn't really drive the car very well. It was hard to drive early on. It was, as soon as I got on with it in the opening couple of laps, it was snapping in the rear and you know, quite uncomfortable. And yeah, well, as soon as that happens, it sort of telegraphs to the little man in the back of the head to be careful, so I don't need to wad the thing up. And as the session went on, sort of basically neutralised a little bit, sort of tended towards a bit of understeer later in the stint. Yeah, it's a really strange balance, but you know, I'm rusty and I don't understand enough about the car, so that's showbiz.
That's showbiz, says Neil Crompton. But yeah, nice to see him back behind the wheel, and they've been competitive all weekend long. Right on the money.
And as a race car driver, what a great grip on reality as well. He really did. He's listened to all the stories over many years come down the headset to him, and he's just been totally honest there. And he's, well, I would suggest that Tony Quinn will definitely get him back, because at the end of the weekend, the lap times did start to come to him as we're seeing a recovery underway there. These are the New Zealanders again who have done just a great job this weekend. Of course, Super Tourer drivers ordinarily have jumped behind the wheel of the Aston, doing a great job. There's that Corvette again, Ivan Capelli and Jim Manolius.
So Manolius behind the wheel now, and this car flying with Liam Talbot driving the Squirk Audi. Race one winners, and in contention with the way they're going, they will likely finish on the podium if things go the way they are. So the Aston Martin still leads the way. There it is up behind that big GT3 Dodge Viper. One of the heavier cars in the field, but lots of horsepower from the big V10.
Gee, it wasn't that many years ago that the Viper was the absolute weapon of choice to have at a big track like this with big power requirements. And just got to suggest that those turns, a little bit of over the ripple strip there in the Aston with Tony Quinn. He is on an absolute charge, just wanting to dispense with the companion Viper.
So they're just getting the Equity One Audi out of the way under a waved yellow. So no safety car intervention, which is good news for Quinn and Fabian Coulthard. Not so for those trying to chase him down, because they're just not going to be able to get close enough. The lead that the Darrell Lee Aston has got at the moment is too big.
Fans on the hill enjoying a fantastic day here in Cromwell, Highlands Motorsport Park. And they have got some fantastic racing, and they've got, well, there's one of them, the world's finest GT cars on display, putting on some fantastic racing here. Look at this on board, down the side of the car, straight into that vent.
Yeah, unreal car, the McLaren. It's been quite successful in series like the Blancpain Endurance Series and FIA GT3. Some reliability issues at the top level, but this car performing very well this weekend. And only that jumped restart yesterday in race one saw them drop down the order a little bit with a post-race penalty, but otherwise a very strong performance. Here is Craig Baird behind the wheel of the VIP Pet Foods Porsche. Clark Quinn looking to win an Australian GT Championship once again. and he's been a great operator. Here is the Aston Martin, the Vantage GT3 car that leads the way. The top 3 cars all looking pretty strong. We go on board with Tony Quinn. Wouldn't it be ironic that Tony wins the race at the circuit that he helped put together, and the trophy that he inaugurated, amazing trophy for this race as well? Wouldn't that be a weird sort of irony if Tony ends up getting there? No small part in thanks to Fabian Coulthard, who did an amazing opening stint to get that car in the front of the race.
Tony Quinn in the Darrell Lee car, an absolute Australian legend of a company. Now under his control, of course, the Scotsman with Australia written across the back of his car with a racetrack in New Zealand. An absolute international competitor is Tony Quinn, and done a great job throughout the 2013 Pirelli Australian GT Championship.
Check out this corner, it's unbelievable. So Tony's in 3rd gear, and quali on new rubber, they were in 4th. And it just goes on and on and on, and the loads on the driver and on the car, and the tyres especially massive. Here's the Aston Martin DBR S9, so the slightly bigger car, GT3 spec still. Slightly older car though compared to the Vantage that Tony Quinn and Fabian Coulthard are driving. But for the Tasman group who are looking after this car this weekend, Steve Horn, this car going very well. Andy Waite and Simon Evans.
Doesn't the Jim Manolis Corvette look absolutely monstrous with its carbon black front there in the International Pirelli corporate livery as they stream through? Jim just identifies that these cars are marginally faster than him and lets them through. Of course, he's got Shirl working back in the shed for him over the last 12 months, and Dean as well. Of course, Shirl from Gary Rogers Motorsport fame from a number of years, instrumental in the Monaros back in the Nations Cup days, and of course many of the race wins for Holdsworth and the whole crew right back down to Tander at the GRM days. So he's now orchestrating everything for Jim Manolis and Ivan Capelli here this weekend.
Great fight with the Aston Martin holding off a couple of Ferraris. So the El Bella Rosso Maranello Motorsport car right in the mix with Peter Edwards and John Bowe. So it was Edwards who started the race, we think, and looks like JB trying to bring it home strongly.
I can't help but say, Richard, they've just completed that green hell part of the circuit through there. Now, I think that's deliberate, isn't it? They've put it through the pine trees.
It has to be, surely. It's amazing, this facility, this circuit. It's a real commitment track. The Ferrari side by side into that banked corner, which is pretty impressive in its own right. Very, very fast bit of road too, and that's what I like about it. It's a very, very high commitment circuit. Requires bravery, requires a good car, requires a good team and a good setup. Look at the El Bella Rosso Ferrari, it is flying at the moment.
Yeah, talking about a good team, the Maranello Motorsport crew, a full complement over here in New Zealand for this round, the final round of the 2013 Championship. Now Tony Quinn again at the wheel, doing a nice job, really has come on this season. We sort of overlooked Tony over the last couple of years. Don't forget that Tony's been racing Porsches right back in the late 90s and early 2000s with teammates like Jim Richards and Peter Fitzgerald when they were at the absolute height of their power, and Tony was like their guy just behind them, just doing the hard work for the team. And I don't think he's going to be able to jump that ripple strip for too much longer either.
Well, they won't be able to, Daz. It's the last lap. Baird still pressing on in the GT3R, but he's going to run out of time. He's closed the margin down, but not quite enough because Tony Quinn is up the road. There's only a few corners left. And with Fabian Coulthard, he'll get the checkered flag at Highlands Motorsport Park. And Tony Quinn and Fabian Coulthard for Darrell Lee win the Australian GT Championship round at this amazing facility. Baird and Quinn Clark, that is, home in second. And Clark Quinn wins the Australian GT Championship.
Well, proud father, I would suggest, one car back there, but certainly Tony Quinn taking that win as we see Salmon coming home as well. What a fantastic weekend for these guys in the Audi R8 LMS Ultra. Around onto the final corner, and they will be very proud down at the Melbourne Performance Centre of their two drivers this weekend who have really stepped right up to the top end, the upper echelon of Australian GT racing.
As the battle for the minors come through, there's Greg Murphy across the line. Pretty satisfying drive, I think, into a solid top 5 position in race 2. But there's the winning Aston Martin, a fantastic performance in front of a massive crowd here at Highlands Motorsport Park. We'll confirm results for you now. Quinn and Coulthard win. Clark Quinn and Craig Baird second, Salmon and Talbot third ahead of Murphy and Crompton. Edwards and Bauer were P5. In the classes, Mark Griffith and Jack Perkins won the sport class, and then Janetta and Ben Fosel and Michael Arman took out GT Challenge in their Porsche GT3 Cup car.
Tony, a fantastic first in from Fabian, put you in the perfect position, and what a way to wind up the first race meeting here at Highlands.
Very good. I'm very happy. Very happy. I'm very hungry and thirsty as well, so make it quick.
Oh, you've got a bottle of champagne here to get through. You must be happy with how this weekend's gone.
No, very good. But it's not over yet. We've got another big race tomorrow, so we've got to do the same tomorrow and for longer.
Fabian, your job was to go out there, put the car in a good lead and bring it home one piece, and you ticked that box.
Yeah, look, it was all right. The car was awesome. The Darrell Lee Aston Martin. It's a pleasure to drive. Thanks for Tony for letting me to come along and share the experience. But awesome facility. We've had a fantastic crowd, so it's been a win-win for everyone.
And that wraps up the final round of the Australian GT Championship presented by Pirelli. Congratulations to our 4 series victors in Clark Quinn, Steve McLaughlin, Ben Fosel and Mark Griffith. From everyone here at Highlands Motorsport Park, this is Chad Nailon saying goodbye. We'll see you in 2014.
Coming up after the break, we wind back to 2004 and the historic opening meeting at Sydney Dragway, the Andros Summer Nationals.